It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That's something that's very not classic metal, but one of my favorite songs featuring this guy. It's Billy Idol from the Devil's Playground release with World Coming Down. And on the line right now, bringing the world down, bringing the hammer down on the drums, as always, it is the legend himself, Mr. Brian Tichy. Brian, how are you, sir?
How are you? I'm good. Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, it is definitely great to talk to you once again, and it's cool that you have yet another new project, man. I have to admit, as a failed drummer, I am very jealous of a guy like yourself that can start new projects, here and there, and gets the call from every major band in the world, man. It's a blessing, I would imagine.
I wish that breakdown of my career or whatever was close to accurate, but yeah, it ain't exactly that, man. This business is crazy, and sometimes you get involved in cool situations and cool bands, and other times you got to figure out work, man.
Sure. Oh, I get. So I mean, for you, a guy that has a big pedigree, do you still struggle, I guess, to find gigs, or do you pass on things that you're just maybe not into anymore, or how do you pick what you're going to do next, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, man, it's a balance. It's a balance of survival and self-confidence and experiences which gain you knowledge into trying to make smart decisions. And sometimes you go with your man, what is it? Your heart and soul and your gut. And other times you've got to go with, hey, work is work, and I got to work, Right. But fortunately, in the big picture, everything I've done as a drummer and stuff is has been really, really fun and rewarding and stuff I'm proud of. So it's not like I'm not even alluding to the inclination that any bands I was in I didn't care to be in at all.
Sure.
Because I really, some people have horror stories and or stories that are, somewhat shocking of, these experiences of being a musician. But no, man, luckily I've been involved in stuff with great bands and great people, and have created great memories and great friendships and great potential for the future, so you take all that and you try and balance it. Okay. I'm not a kid in my 20s in a little apartment with barely any bills and no right. responsibility, just whatever it takes to make a buck playing drums is all good. I have to I'm older, I have responsibilities and family, and you got to take care of that. You got to take care of all that stuff. So that's a total top of the top priority. But then in the back of your head is like, okay, well, I've done this and that, and I have to have a little confidence that I've proven myself in these ways, and I can continue to prove myself if given the chance. And hopefully, like anything, man, if you create a resume or you have a decent name or you've done things that people are aware of, hopefully that creates open doors more than, banging down doors to prove yourself because right. nobody knows who you are, but it's always, there's nothing easy about it. I guess I am aware of some people that I know seem to get constant calls and are the go-to guys for whatever, and they're always working. And sometimes I'm involved in stuff which is a bunch of work over a bunch of time, and other times I'm like, okay, I gotta, I didn't write Stairway to Heaven or More Than a Feeling or something, then I have this huge hit single with that mailbox money coming in.
Right.
That's a whole other world, which is an amazing world, and that ties directly in to my new band Silverthorne, because ultimately, I always as a kid looked up to my idols and my Kiss and Zeppelins and Van Halens and Rush and Aerosmith, and was like, that's it, man. I want to have my own band, be the drummer. I love guitar. I play guitar. I want to write in that band, and we're the next big thing. I mean, I think that's maybe the common dream with rock musicians, is to have your own band and be involved in that band that you can, become a success in and take care of yourself, throughout your life, unless you're, a stupid ego driven drug addict who thinks the money's going to be there forever,
Right.
But yeah, man, that's so it's all cool. It's just a balance, man. I've been in a bunch of different bands, and maybe some of them I could have stayed in a lot longer. And sometimes I just think, how long is life? I don't know. It's probably shorter than long.
Right.
And it could end at any moment. So do I want to see if I can create something more through what I've achieved up to this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And man, from the first taste that we've gotten of Silverthorne, your new band, it's very clear that you're not just resting on your laurels. I mean, anybody that knows, Whitesnake, Billy Idol, etc., the names that you're associated with will not listen to this and say, okay, well, he's knocking that off or knocking this off. It's definitely got a fresh, new vibe to it that is very, I'm going to guess, is very collective to the individuals that make up the band and not just you as the quote-unquote name.
Well, yeah, 100%. And it is what it is because luckily sometimes things do work out. Meaning, I really do love the idea of, and I have huge respect for anybody, whether I love the band or don't even like them that much, or anybody that started their own band, wrote their own songs, were focused and driven enough to make it become a reality and either write that hit song or get that record deal and get out there and play and win those fans over and have a career. And you wake up, let's just say Rush, okay? Mm-hmm. A different kind of band. And maybe after a few years of some records, it was questionable on how long they could sustain. And they came out with a record that, 2112 or whatever, that took them to the next level. But they became a band where their lives were completely about their next record and their tour with three friends that got along amazingly well and lasted as long as they did, and wrote a style of music that was completely different than anybody else. But to this day, got to an arena level and did nothing but stay in arenas till the end of the band. And I love that as a musician. Just as a musician, you're able to pick up your instrument and go, I have to write music for the next record with my buddies that also are writing music for the next record. Together, we're going to make a great record, and we're going to go out and hopefully our fans love it. And we're going to take care of our private lives and our families and our bills, and we're going to have money in the bank, and we're going to be smart about it, and we're going to enjoy what we do. And it's all centered around a love of music. That to me is the pinnacle of existence as a musician, to me, to be able to take care of everything you have around you and sustain through your own creativity. It's amazing. So that's what I want. And that's what I would love to sit here as I talk about a brand new baby band called Silverthorne. I would love down the road to sit here and say, yeah, we had that talk, and I'm actually in a place where that could be my 100% focus, and that's my job, and that's my love and my passion, and I'm doing it with people that I have a great time with. And there's fans out there that actually give a shit about the next music, batch of songs we put out, or the next whatever, the next tour. That is, I have so much respect. I have friends that do this. I've worked with people that have created massive, huge bands in the rock business, and I look to them, and I get on my knees and bow to them, man. Whether it's freaking Billy Idol or David Coverdale or Mick Jones from Foreigner, what they created and what they wrote and what they still have is just blows my mind. And they've had that since the 70s. To sustain like that is just amazing, to keep any business together for that long, especially in something as fickle as and varied as with the ebbs and flows of a music business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You can write one song and people love it. You could write My Sharona. Maybe I'm talking to people that are younger and don't know all these things I'm mentioning. But you come out and take over the world with one song, and maybe that's all you got. But maybe that's enough to really focus on a career in music and keep that stuff rolling. But it just even to that level, that's amazing to get to that point where you hit on something that affected people and they remember it and it makes them happy and they enjoy it. I love that. So I'm really hoping as we talk about, I've done this and that and played here and there and started projects and blah, 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 none of which are chart topping, Sure. It's, you just try and go, okay, I'm a drummer who loves music, and I'd love to be in my own band and just do everything I just explained, and somewhere in there, over the past 30 years, it became a thing where, okay, I was good enough on my instrument to be able to audition and get in already established bands, and it's taken me around the world and it had me work with people I grew up and learned how to play my instrument from their bands and their music and their drummers and those recordings and seeing them live. That's a complete honor, and it's really awesome to have those experiences. But while you do that, you go, they got there, they did it. Mm-hmm. They had a focus, they had talent, they put it together, and it worked out. I want to do the same thing, and that is the top of the top for me.
No question. Well, Brian, tell us a little bit about Silverthorne. Who are these guys that you're working with, and how did the whole creative chemistry come to be?
Yeah, it's just a couple guys. They're kind of half-asses. I take credit for everything. I write it all. I tell them what to do. It's all my creation, and they just wait for me to tell them how high to jump. No, and I'm glad it's not that, because it would really suck. But we're a power trio, and we're a rock and roll, hard driving, guitar driven rock band with a badass vocalist, which is not easy to come by. And that right there is probably the main link to me saying there's something here that I think can go further, and I need to see if this can happen. And it takes that other person that's on the same page as you and more or less on the same path as you, and you go, wow, there's something here. Maybe it's just the two of us in a room, and maybe we're the only two people that think this, but if we're both thinking this and we're fans of the same thing, maybe there's other people that will join along for this little ride we're trying to, get on, And that's so it's myself, Daniel Spree on bass. He's a buddy of mine from LA, and he's a killer bass player, killer guy. We've played here and there over the years. And when this was coming together, I contacted him and said, "Hey, here's some tunes. What do you think? This is where we're at." And he was like, "Man, this sounds great. What's going on with it?" I said, "Well, it's in its beginning stages, so there's not much happening right now, but there will be, hopefully sooner than later." And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm in." And that's Daniel Spree. But the main catalyst for getting this whole thing together is the singer, guitar player Pete Shoulder. Pete is from the UK, and we had met when I was in Whitesnake, and his band called The Union was opening on a UK tour. Okay. And I would hear him singing on stage. I go backstage or whatever, and they're opening up, and like whoever that singer is, he's killer, man. He's like, it's like a Paul Rogers thing going on, which, man, that's like one of the best of all time. Sure. And it got, just made a little note of it, but that was that was back in 2011. So fast forward a few years, and I'll try to make the story quick. I was doing a project with some songs recorded with no vocals with the DeLeo brothers from Stone Temple Pilots. They were kind of in the middle of not having a singer, and we had been friends for years, and we got together with an idea of a potential new band. We needed a singer. Through this person to that person, Pete Shoulder came into the fold, and we were blown away by his voice. He started writing with us, and that's really how I got to know Pete. Okay. This was a few years ago, and so we made a record, and it was there. Ultimately, the guys found a singer that was the right fit for STP, and they had to make up their minds, and it's maybe that's not an easy decision, but I totally get it. You can't do two things like that at the same time. And they have this great, awesome band that they've had for decades with great success. They opted to move that forward. And of course, you have to understand, I'm a fan. And like I said before, anybody that gets a band to that point, I have so much respect for completely. So they moved forward with STP, and our stuff went on the back burner. So a little bit later, I said, Pete, as I had gotten to know him and realized, man, he's not just a great singer, he's a great guy. We're cut from the same cloth. He's a great guitar player, great all-around musician. Let's get together and write. And there you go. And I think one of the first songs was the single that's out now, "Tear the Sky Wide Open," and it was a really cool, great collaboration. We just got together. I have a studio out in LA, and he flew out. We recorded a bunch of stuff. And this was all last year, and this year we got hooked up with Golden Robot Records and signed a little deal, and there you go. We're up and running, and now the uphill battle starts. Of
Right.
seeing if this thing can become a reality and not just something that comes and goes. And it's definitely not. It's not a project just to see. We got together and put some songs together, and somebody offered us a little deal, and it's not that. This is I'd really, really love to see this get to the next level, and then the next level, and then the next level.
Sure.
So but it's all in its beginning stages.
Well, you're definitely off to a good start with Tear the Sky Wide Open, man. If nothing else, that riff is addictive as hell. It's like it's bubblegum in your hair type of a riff where it just sticks to you, man. It's such a cool riff.
Well, I appreciate that, and I wish I could take full credit, but I can take zero credit other than I agreed with you when I heard it. I heard it on an acoustic guitar. It's sitting with Pete. We're just going through ideas, making little notes, and he goes, I have this other little thing, and he went, and played the riff, and I'm like, that's cool, man. And it never changed from that. He had it. What it is what it is. And we just developed off of a riff, and I'm a huge fan of riffs ever since I was a kid. I mean, you pick up a guitar and somebody shows you Back in Black Hole, I love Iron Man, Smoke on the Water. You're just, that blew me away, just to be able to sit there and play riffs on a guitar. And I've always been a huge fan of writing a good riff. I absolutely love it. I love when I hear a band with a riff and I go, oh yeah, just like the first time you hear Unchained from Van Halen, or freaking, the Wanton Song from Zeppelin or whatever. It's just like, first time you hear a Pantera riff, come on,
Right.
So I love that, but a great riff is a great riff, but now, okay, let's complete the song. And that's the challenge, okay. And he's got a killer voice. I'm so proud to be working with somebody that just has that ability to sound like that without even trying. And I know he's a very dedicated and focused singer. He's put a lot of time into his craft and stuff, but it starts with a natural ability, and he was smart with and worked it over the years and became what he is. But there's just not that many killer singers, man, that just catch you and you go, who is that? Where's this guy from? What's that? And that's what he is to me. So yeah, we put that song together, but yeah, it all started with a little catchy riff that he had.
No doubt. Now, Silverthorne, obviously you're working on more material to release. What is the timeline for, either an EP or a full record, or what's coming next?
Yeah, with the timeline we had when we signed up with Golden Robot, I had to leave for the summer, and I was touring in Japan with this Japan's biggest rock band, and guys I've worked with for a long time, and I had committed to a summer tour, which was a lot of fun. It was all great, but that kind of put a timeline on what we could and couldn't do. Okay. So prior to me going, we got together and all agreed an EP is probably the best way to go in this day and age, rather than try and kill ourselves in making a full LP when everything's so singles driven now, and not so many people are super concerned with an LP. I'm like, cool, man, that's fine. We're a new band. We don't have to start out, trying to squeeze all this in a certain amount of time. We had most of the music, but you've got to get a lot of stuff together to complete a record. Sure. We went with the EP, and prior to me going to Japan, we picked out the 5 songs we wanted and mixed, mastered, tweaked them out, did whatever we had to do to make them get where they should be, and filmed a couple, 2-3 videos and a bunch of photos, whatever, and got it all ready. So we knew at the end of the summer when we're coming out with a single, we had everything we needed, and that's it. So yeah, the first single came out middle of August. The next single and video will be in about a month. Okay. And we're in the middle of editing the video now, which is a whole different vibe song, which I can't wait. It's so not Tear the Sky Wide Open, but it is such a it's just such a great vocal. It's probably it's probably our favorite song of everything we wrote. It probably is the one that excited us the most, and because in its simplicity and in its dynamics and in its lack of concern for sounding anything like any other rock bands out there now. But it is so in the world of classic stuff we all grew up on, and that's why it's maybe not a single, maybe it is, I don't know, but there's a little more going on there, and but it does have a big fat singable chorus, and so I'm excited for it to come out, man. I'm psyched, and soon after that we're figuring out now the best time to put out the EP.
Very cool.
So it's all happening,
And you look at the industry today in 2019, and you see, bands like, and I'm not comparing musical style, I'm just saying business-wise, you see a band like Greta Van Fleet, or you see a band like Dirty Honey that are releasing EPs and having success. That's got to give you inspiration to say, hey, maybe I don't need to put out 10, 12, 15 songs at once. Maybe I can just choice pick the best 5 for now and start the build before you launch into a full record, no?
Yeah, and it wasn't even so much that where I agree with what you say, because even like whether it's Down or I think even Skid Row, there's a lot of bands out there putting out EPs only now. Like you said, I just became aware of Dirty Honey. I don't remember exactly how, but I know that they're kind of a big, powerful, classic sounding, raw rock band. And they're getting some good play and exposure, and obviously Greta Van Fleet's been doing great, for sure. And that's really nice, because everybody goes, then you get into that whole is rock dead thing. It's like, no, it's not. Just stop. You got Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Foo Fighters just owning stadiums. Rock is not dead. It's never going to be. And I'm not even concerned whether it is or not. There's always things go up and down, and there's a fan base for everybody that puts out good music, whether it's country or hip hop or metal, there's a fan base out there. And if you're kicking ass and you create that fan base, you can sustain, and you just got to get to that point. But yeah, the EP thing, it was more just a timing thing with us. It was like, rather than try and finish up all of it in the time we have before I'm gone, let's just focus on what the best of what we have is now, which is an EP. And but in this day and age, like we were saying, people aren't super concerned with LPs, although I love them, and I grew up buying LPs, and I that's what I love the most. It's an EP, and if people dig it, you dig the one song, we'll give you another, you dig that, you put out the EP. If that's all good, great. We'll know after that EP comes out where we stand and what the future may hold, and with a little bit more knowledge than we have now. And then the next step will be cool. We want to follow it up with another EP, and there you go. It's kind of like put the two together, and you have your LP, and which I'd love it all to happen sooner than later. So it's just a matter of seeing how things develop, which it's the beauty and the curse of everything. We can't control anything. We can't control who digs it enough to become a fan, or who doesn't care, or what people, the people in the biz, the agents and the managers, and all the stuff that it takes to get to that next level, and the money behind you. It's like that's all factored into the ongoing potential success of anything. So all we can do is sit here and have confidence that we think we have something good, and get that opportunity to play in front of people and prove ourselves. And that's it, man. Just, I don't care, backyard barbecue or a stadium, get us out there and let us prove ourselves, but I know what we can do, and I know what I can do. I know what Pete can do. And is it like, because we have some special secret, we've got these, this stage show that's going to be like the next, whatever.
Right.
No, it's just like, are we going to be able to do something on stage? Because I'm a huge fan of whether it's a Kiss show, the first band I ever grew up on, the Kiss with their brilliant live show, or is it Neil Young, who blows me away live by doing what he does, just because of his charisma, so somewhere in there, man, you've got a wide variety of what people consider a badass rock show. It's not just one thing. So I think we have it, and I just hope to get a chance to prove it. That's all.
No question, man. Well, dude, real quick, I just have one old question. It has nothing to do with any of this, but it's something I've been meaning to ask you, and I forgot the last time I chatted with you, and it's an old one, so your answer might be I don't even remember. But going back to Billy Idol, there's the song on Devil's Playground called Rat Race. I have always been curious if that song was molded out of Eyes Without a Face from Rebel Yell, because it's got almost that same riff in it.
I couldn't tell you. I remember the song, but it's a Steve Stevens Idol collaboration. It's not one of the ones with Billy and I. If you ask me about an Idol Tichy collaboration, I definitely know exactly where, way closer to where it came from or where it started, because it may have been from me writing on guitar or him coming up with a vocal line or whatever. But that song, it may or may not be. I don't know. But with that, if you like that record, Billy put out a greatest hits record a few years after that, and the single off the greatest hits record was called John Wayne, which myself with Billy and keyboardist Derek Sherinian, we all wrote together, and that definitely had an older classic Idol flavor to it. I thought it was a pretty cool song, and I think it was the single for that greatest hits record that came out. So check that one out too. Yeah,
no doubt, man. Well, and forget that. They could check that out after they check out Tear the Sky Wide Open. It's out there on all the platforms where you would find songs. It's Silverthorne is the band. And why don't we wrap this one up, Brian, with maybe a quick story about that song itself, how it came to be written?
Yeah, well, we talked about it a little bit, but it just started with the singer guitar player Pete's riff, and we just moved on from there and came up with a groove around it and a verse, and we collaborate well together. We're a good A-B team. I love when I have an A and somebody can come out with a B that I'm like, hell yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. Or he has an A and I go, that inspired me to come up with the B. We had a verse, we had a groove, we had even a chorus melody. The chorus you hear, I think I just kind of went, what if we went, whatever, and over a couple chords, let's just drive that. Pete's like, yeah, cool, and he put lyrics around it. But somewhere I do remember in the verse, we were kind of going around like, what's the best phrasing in this verse? What's the way to develop this? And we were throwing things back and forth, and somewhere in there, and I remember somehow, and it probably doesn't even sound like it, but in my mind, I started humming a little bit of the vibe of In the City from Stevie Wonder, a little bit of that vibe. And even though the song has nothing to do with that, I just started, and Pete ran with that, and he took it to the next level, and we went from there, and he wrote all the lyrics, and we go back and forth lyrically a little bit. If he's either stuck or has little holes to fill, we'll go back and forth. But it was fun because you listen to the few days of demos and how it developed, which we had to kind of do, or we did when we were mixing it and revisiting it in the spring. It was cool. It was like, wait, this is the first version, man. It was a whole different thing. We were doing more of a Black Dog vibe. We were leaving a big hole for a vocal and going back to the riff, and it just wasn't working. But I love the art of songwriting, especially if the people that didn't write the song or you become fans of the song. I love that. That's why there's a Silverthorne. I want people to hear this music and have it affect them where they become fans and they want to hear more. They want to see us live and all that stuff. So yeah, it was. But after with all the songs written, that seemed to be the one that sort of summed up what we're about, in 4 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of other stuff going on, but man, let's hit them with a big riff, some killer vocals, a driving groove, a standard song arrangement, nothing, not throwing you any curveballs. We want to just keep it driving and just get your attention. And I thought that song best represented that. And on the other side, I'll end it on this. Lyrically, it's mostly all Pete stuff, and I'd say it's simply about, along the lines of, hey, kids, don't do drugs. Bad shit happens. You know what I
mean? Nice. Well, let's make some new fans of Silverthorne right now. This is brand new stuff. It is Tear the Sky Wide Open. It is Silverthorne right here on your Classic Metal Show.